Hi, everyone. So let me see here. Dr. Knight, I am going to make you a co-host right now so that you can control the breakout rooms and presentation and everything else. And then we're going to just do introductions. Dr. Knight, are you all set?
I think so. Zoom is a little crazy because it rearranges the desktop so many times. So bear with me, but yeah, we can give it a try.
Problem. Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, so we'll give it a try. Hey, good morning, everybody.
If you don't mind, I'll do the introduction so that way you don't have to introduce yourself, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm just queuing that up. I apologize for the slight delay here. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session, Creating a Customized Curated Newsfeed to Increase Student Engagement. We're so pleased to have Dr. Marie Knight here. Dr. Marie Knight is an instructor of chemistry and physics at Eastern Florida State College in Titusville, Florida. And I am personally so interested in learning about how she uses the curated news feeds in her class. And so if we could just remind you to please mute your mic until it's an appropriate time. And Dr. Knight, thank you so much for presenting at NEACT.
Oh, sure. Great. Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. I am going to, I'm going to run this as a real workshop, you guys. So we have an hour and a half. You certainly don't want to hear me talk for an hour and a half. I know my students never want to hear me talk for an hour and a half, and I don't want to either. So we really are going to do a workshop. All right, so what I have for you all is I created a website for the presentation that I'm going to try to give you the link for in the moment. So what I'm hoping that you'll do is you'll have this link to use in the future in reference to, to follow along with me, I'm going to use it as my presentation, but it's going to be for your reference for the future. But the goal is for you guys to get busy while we're doing this and to actually, you're going to create your own feed as we do this. And hopefully what that'll do for you is that, it is a bit of a time commitment. Well, we have an hour and a half to do it. Once you get it set up, that's where the bulk of the energy and the effort and the time goes into. But once you have it set up, it kind of runs on its own. So I'm hoping that, you may find it interesting just for yourself to use, which we'll go over, or, maybe you'll want to even try it in your classroom. So I'm going to encourage you all to work with me on this as a workshop. I hope you're sitting in front of your computer, which most of you guys are. I know some of my students are driving when we're doing live online classes and driving through McDonald's. So hopefully we don't have any of that because that's going to be hard. But let me start with giving you the link. So now I got to find that. I'm noticing there's a little bit of a delay from my desktop to it being published. So I'm hoping it's going to be okay, but here's the link. And this way I can also modify it and improve it based on your feedback or any confusion or any questions that you have. So I'm going to put this in the link. I'm going to put this in the chat. Okay. So there's the link, currents.super.site. So hopefully everybody can get that open. You don't necessarily have to follow along with me as I present, but there will be a couple links that you will need to use in the workshop in setting up your feed. All right, so give you guys a couple seconds to get oriented, make sure that hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing. I think I will use your link rather than my desktop link because That might get a little confusing. So I'm going to open this up. All right. Here I go, just organizing windows so I can see everything. There we are. All right, so any problems? Everybody have the site open, I'm assuming? Any problems, just speak up. I am running this as a workshop, so I'm hoping to get some interactions or questions as we go along. So let me share it. There we go. Okay, so this is what you should be seeing. Of course, this is my abstract that you guys already had access to. But what I wanted to show you to start off with is what am I talking about and what is it that we're aiming for to create? So let me see, I do have a chat window here. Oh, okay, yeah. So I know sometimes if y'all, I know when I'm presenting typically live online, for some reason my chat site doesn't show up and I'm not monitoring it. So if anybody in the audience or our hosts can see any questions, I know sometimes when you log in after something's been posted in the chat, you don't see what was posted in the chat. So I just reposted that. So can you all help me out there on if anybody else comes in and needs the link, can you please catch up for me? Okay, great. So I'm going to keep going. Hopefully, again, I do not see the chat when I'm presenting. I have too many windows open. So please stop me or just, audibly ask a question or audibly stop me. Again, because I won't visibly, I'm not looking at the chat. But okay, so where are we going or what's the goal here? What I'm doing is, and what I'm going to teach you guys to do, have you guys generate is what you see here on the website. There's two customized news feeds. So you can scroll through it. This is kind of our initial output that we're aiming for. Now this is just a iframe that I have displayed inside of this website. But you guys think about this as our goal, where we're going to, because as you're setting up your customized feed, there's a lot of planning that you have to consider. So it's always good to think about the end. Where are you trying to go with this? Your end may be a little bit different than my end. I'm going to show you how I did it and everything that I've considered over many years, actually, setting this up. And so again, as we're setting this up in this workshop format, when we get there, if you have questions, please ask me, because I played with this quite a bit over many years, and I'll go into that in a little bit too, a little bit of my history. But this is our goal. This is what we're trying to get to on the very first level. You'll see in the kind of the outline for our presentation, the last part is something that I call leveled up, which is advanced curation. This is not what I'm considering advanced curation. And the difference between what we're going to be doing right now and which we may do or may not, depending on how far we get along, is get to a situation where we can level up on our feed, where if you look at one of these articles closely before we actually launch the article, you can see that what is included here is just what is generated by our publisher, not us, but by the publisher. So it's metadata that the publisher pushes through. So for example, you have the title, you have maybe an abstract or introduction, and then you see what's generated actually by the feed generator, which is when it was generated and what the source is. And in this case, there's also some metadata that's being pulled in. But what you don't see is any comments that you may make or you may want to make. And I'm going to say that for the most part, this is really a good enough level. We have to talk about good enough, because this is actually pretty easy. Once we get through this whole thing and get it set up at the end of the workshop here, you're going to be able to do this, and it'll kind of run automatically. And so it's easy, it's out of your hands. And that's what I'm going to recommend that we actually just stick with. That's why if we don't actually get into this level up, I think we're going to be okay. This leveling up, I do want to introduce to you. It is something that I used to do quite a bit. But it gives you the ability to annotate. But that is going to, you know, as we're moving through this process, you know, we're going to be spending a lot of time today getting this set up. But what we want is that for, you know, from your day-to-day workflow, that you can just read these articles, kind of think about what's going on and tag them, you know, where you want them to go. But that's it, you know, and you can do that in you know, like 10 seconds. I can review an article pretty quickly, and I can say, oh, this is probably appropriate for this class, or this is appropriate for, and that's my tag, or it is appropriate for this section in my class, and that's my tag. And then you can move on, and that's it. You know, get through an article in 10 seconds and keep moving. Now, this leveling up will be you taking that article and you adding your comments to guide your students. Maybe it's something that you want to highlight based on what you're doing in class. Or it's part of assignment and you want to ask some special questions. Now, of course, that's going to take a lot more time. And if you're processing, you know, 100 articles, and you want to get that pushed out, you don't want to do that on a normal basis. So that's what I'm going to say. This leveling up that I have down here is our advanced curation, where you can comment, but it will add a significant amount of time to it, to our workflow. So right now, we're going to focus on this. This is our initial goal, where we're going to go. So you can take a look at it. I do want you to think about it, because again, this is where we're going. I want you to envision this a little bit. How would you use this? How does this look? Again, this is the kind of feed that I'm going to go ahead and put into my, in the case that I do, I publish it to my LMS. I have a Canvas LMS, and I'm going to show you that as well. So there's a couple outputs, which I have links to for you in the presentation, but I guess I'm going to switch to this window now. Again, just thinking about where are we going? What's our goal? Share the screen now.
Hi, Dr. Knight. There was a question in the chat.
Yes.
Just said, are you adding all the content, or do students participate?
So right now, this is you. This is something that you're pushing to the students. So for example, this is what you're going to see. This is a potential thing that you can see. This is published in my Canvas or as a template. This is what your students can see as an example. There's different templates that you'll see, but this is for them to review. And the way I have this tagged, again, we'll go through this later. I just want you to see where we're moving towards. This is tagged or targeted towards different subject areas, or students who are coming into chemistry with, you know, with a different goal, with different goals. You know, we have our medical students, or I've actually had a lot of computer science students, which I find interesting. I've got, you know, of course, our engineering and material science students, and, you know, physics students. These are all articles that I've gone through and tagged and targeted towards these different subject areas. So if I have a student who's, and again, we're going to go through this. I want you just to look at this as the final, where we're heading towards. If I have a student, a medical student who's taking chemistry, you know, they never are very interested in Chem 1. And I'm trying to get them excited and thinking about what they're learning actually is applicable to their course of study. And so if I can pull out examples from the literature that has a very biological or medical link to what we're covering in class. You'll see how I'm doing that. It does get them excited and more interested. So this is the targeting. So again, you're going to think about how you're going to package these articles to target to your class. Again, I'm going to go through it my way, but you may decide to do it differently. But we're going to go through it step by step. But this is just our final output that we're looking at in the not the advanced curation form of it. So, if this is in one of your pages on your LMS, the student can say, hey, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll click on it and read it. And, for them, maybe that's just that's the end of it. Again, I've got some ideas or how I've used it, but as a student at the moment, they are just consuming this. They're actually not giving you anything at this point. It's up to you to decide what you want them to do with it, if anything. This is kind of, yeah, it didn't show up here. Yeah. Some interesting stuff coming out recently on using computers to model three-dimensional structures of proteins. That's pretty interesting and pretty exciting. I was hoping that would show up. I don't know where that's going. This is different, but anyway, it's interesting. But again, it's not annotated, so it's up to the student to kind of read it and draw their own conclusions. Okay, so that's where we're going. All right, let's go back. Stop share. Back to the original window. Nope. Okay, so back to our presentation. So let's go ahead and get started then and see what we can do. I just to orient you, down here is the presentation that we're going to go through. Down here are some resources that have some common links to the presentation, but if you're using this later on your own, you won't have to find the links through the presentation. Hopefully you'll get a feel for what we're doing. And if you want to jump in and make changes, you won't have to wade through the presentation and find it. So we have this, we'll see it later, but the wiki that I'm putting together as I've done the presentation, sources you'll see, and this pro code, which you'll see in a moment, and just some additional information. But okay, let's go ahead and get started with our little introduction. This is just me talking a little bit to introduce how I've used it and where I'm coming from. So this is more of our lecture part of it, not the workshop part, but I'm trying to convince you to use it. I see a chat. Okay, there. Yeah, okay, I got it now. Okay, so I'll tell you why I've created this. I have been in education teaching now this is going on my 5th year. So obviously I've had a career prior to this. I was in industry. I actually I have a PhD in chemistry, biochemistry, and went into industry following my postdoc at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And I ended up taking a different path. I was a analyst on Wall Street. And later I did competitive intelligence for the pharmaceutical companies. They're all very related. It's kind of being an analyst. But all of this, whether being this analyst, we're trying to find signal intelligence. And most of that initially is coming from what I'm going to call these secondary sources. So whether I am doing this for Wall Street or if I was doing this for my client, a pharmaceutical client in competitive intelligence, we needed to get information. And one of the way we referred to this was information arbitrage. And so we generated a way to stay up on all of the information coming out, all this secondary information, stuff that's being written, and get a signal from it, the SIGINT, in order to come up with some ideas of whatever the issue was going to be, whether for Wall Street, whether a drug was going to be approved or clinical trials were going to be successful, For pharmaceutical, it was a huge range of information, but it was always the basis of our further research. So we would start with secondary research, and then we would go to primary research, essentially. And the primary is when you actually interview, you go to conferences, and you talk to primary resources. But that was very expensive and very time consuming. So the better base that we could create with this secondary information, the better, and the cheaper and the more direct we could be, more efficient we could be with our primary intelligence. And it was really amazing to me that pretty much both Wall Street and the pharmaceutical companies did not have a very good way to get secondary information. So I ended up creating another company for secondary information, and we would generate customized newsletters based on secondary information. And then you would think secondary information, whatever's published, it's in the public domain. Some of it is dark web, but not really. You just dig, you can find it. You can do scraping, web scraping, which you're able to do with this tool that we'll talk about. Which again, this is way beyond what we need to do for our students, but it serves as the basis for, I thought, well, we've got this, let's go ahead and apply it and see what we can do for our students with this approach. So we created, let's say, one of my clients, we were doing biomarkers for oncology, and we were generating these, searches, very advanced searches, not the kinds of searches that we're going to need to do for our students, but very advanced scraping technology, maybe a little bit of dark web kind of stuff, to find information. And then we would publish it to them in a very customized newsletter, and we would give the so what part of it. So we would want to make sure it was annotated. And again, this is all secondary stuff that's on the internet. You would think is not a big deal. It's just being organized, but it was so valued that they actually put a very high level of required access on the stuff that we published. Because it would find stuff that no one was aware of, even though it was secondary intelligence, essentially. But anyway, so we had this system and it was working great. Our clients would pay a lot of money for it, and so now that I moved into education, I'm getting my Chem 1 and my Chem 2 students, trying to get them engaged, going through our typical lecture. Going through the book, the textbook, doing our regular labs. We have a lot of material we have to cover. And I just felt like they were not engaged. They didn't care so much. So I started, well, I've already got this going. Let me see what happens if I publish, just the level 1, I'm going to call it a news feed for them. Well, I got really good feedback from them and a lot of interest. So that's why I ended up applying what we've generated for industry to just our chem or physics students. So now I used a different tool, more customized tool in industry, but there is a very good tool called InnoReader, and that's the one we're going to focus on, and that's the one I'm going to have you guys set up in order to basically grab all the. It finds a lot of sources. You'll see it finds RSS sources, RSS feeds, but a lot of other stuff. It's a very, very robust tool. So that's what we're going to focus on in using today, is setting up InnoReader for your use. Again, how you use it after we get it set up is up to you. You can use it just personally, or you can use it for your students. But so what is this based on? This whole thing, it's based on what we called RSS feeds. So I don't know those of you who are familiar with RSS feeds or not, but it stands for really simple syndication, and it's essentially the programming that allows us to generate feed, a news feed, let's say, of content that is created from various content creators, including yourself. So it's just, we don't have to worry too much about this. So it's just called really simple syndication. It's taken care of for us by InnoReader, but that's the term comes up a lot. It's called the RSS feed. All right. So what we're going to use is InnoReader, and I'm just going to play the little video for you for their introduction.
Okay, so you're the type.
And let me see, I think I have to make sure that system sounds are played. I can't tell, but I'll put it loud enough.
Start using it. Content reader that saves you valuable time. See, with InnoReader, the content you want comes straight to you the minute it's available. InnoReader is easy to use. Just subscribe to your favorite sites and all the content will come together in one neat reading-friendly environment. You can take advantage of InnoReader's powerful automation, save pages for viewing later, share with friends, subscribe to social feeds, and rely on full search for past articles, blogs, posts, podcasts, and more. You can also keep up with your content on the go thanks to InnoReader's mobile apps. InnoReader gives you the edge you need. Try it right now for free.
So that's our tool. I'm not associated with InnoReader in any way. I've tried a lot of different tools, and this is just the most robust that I have come across. So this is my workflow. This is how I use it myself. So what I do is you're going to find different sources, different articles that you're going to want, that's going to be articles that are generated. So these are things that are changing, right? New publications. And so what you're going to want to do is try to discover those articles. What are you interested in reading? Are there, right off the bat, and I've got some links for you guys, where are some sources to get started with? And it will build very quickly. So you're going to subscribe to those sources, which provides this external RSS feed. So I'm going to differentiate these external from internal, or the RSS feed that you generate. We're going to generate a couple of these. But these are external RSS feeds that are then coming into our InnoReader, for example. So you're going to have a lot of material, way more than you're going to want to deal with. What you're going to do is, and what we're going to do is, we're going to want to organize the feeds into folders so that it makes sense. So let's say, you may have a folder that you're looking at news articles that are going to be, chemistry based. I've got stuff for physics. I have stuff for biotechnology. I have it for Florida politics. You can do it anyway. You can organize it based on your different interests. So this is not just for what you're going to be publishing for your classes, or it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But you need to organize it. And so you're going to organize these feeds in folders. And then as you go through the folders are going to be showing you these articles that are published. And now this is where I'm saying that this can be very quick. At the point that you've got this all set up and you're just reading the articles, you're going to apply different tags. Again, that's very quick if we've organized and set this up correctly. So you can read the article and you can say, hey, you know what, that's pretty interesting. I think that's good for my Chem 1 class, or I think that's good for my Chem 1 kids who are going into biomedical. So I'm going to tag it that way. Or maybe I'm going to tag it more related to the subject of the class. I teach Chem 1 as an atoms first. So maybe I'll tag it like reactions, or maybe depending on what the article is, and it can have multiple tags. So, but you can do that very quickly as you're reviewing the article. And then what you're going to do is, what happens is once it's tagged, it goes into, it's not exactly a folder, but let's call it a tagged folder. And what you will have set up is a external, now this is leaving the system, an external RSS feed that will publish whatever articles that you have put in that tagged folder. So that's why we have to think about this setup before we get too far. Again, I'll be walking you through it. But this is an essential step in setting up your inner reader. And believe me, I have done it a million different times and messed up a lot. So learn from my mistakes. But how, think about how you're going to organize. How do you want to organize the articles to push out to your students? Again, we'll go through that. But once that's done, it's automated. This is already set up. This is what we're going to set up today. This is all set up. So this will automatically generate these custom RSS feeds based on these tags, and it will get pushed out to wherever you publish that RSS feed. So for example, what I showed you earlier, if I added an article to the biological medical tag folder, it will get published in Canvas under the biological medical. I don't have to do anything. It's going to be automatically done. So it goes very quickly once you get it set up. All right, so we'll revisit this. Again, this is kind of an overview. So, the benefits of this, I mean, just for yourself, not even thinking about your students. It really is a great method to keep current of topics that are interesting to you. It's gone are the days of Journal Friday, before being in grad school, before computers and going to the journal. I remember going to the library every Friday just to pull out all the magazines or the journals, the hard copy journals that were published for the week, and going through and reading them. We don't have to do that anymore, right? But are we doing anything? We used to do that. We used to go to the library, but what are we doing to stay current? Well, this is one way we can do it. And because you can subscribe to those journals, their talks, table of contents, and they can get downloaded to you for you to read. I'm not going to suggest that as something you want to push to your students at this level. You may want to, but not, more for your interest. So, it is a benefit for yourself, not even thinking about our students. And it's also, a better source of information than getting it from Facebook, Instagram, right? Or any other mind control sources. But what are you going to do when to satisfy your scrolling desire? Inner Reader does have an app for your iPhone, for your phone, for your mobile devices, so you can scroll away and read that rather than in Instagram. Also, good for professional development. But then once you've got this all set up and you're going through it, it's just a minimal extra effort, really, just minimal effort to then go ahead and tag it and start sharing it with your students. So the greatest benefit, in my opinion, is for you in staying current and having, going through the stuff that you're interested in, and just a little bit extra to push it to your students.
Dr. Knight?
So, yes.
Do you value these feeds in any formal way in your course with your students?
Do I value them? Well, so it depends on how you're going to use them, and that's how I'm going to talk about right now. I think what you're asking me is this. So correct me if I'm wrong. How do we use it? And I'm not just going to put it on a page necessarily where it's up to the student to read, because they probably won't, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to get them to do something with it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is what you're asking me. How do I get some value to it rather than just
yes. And is this content all being driven by you, or do your students participate in its creation?
No, it's completely driven by you. So by the instructor. So not by the team, but not by the students at all. They're consumers of it. They're consumers of it. But the question you're asking, though, is important. And that's the next step that I'm talking about. I will talk about is, what are we going to do with it, and what have I done with it? Well, sometimes I will, and this is not necessarily this is not necessarily doing the annotated feeds. Again, I'm not going to encourage anybody to do annotated feeds, that leveling up, because it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work. And I'm just going to give you the information so you can do it maybe in the future. And you can always ask me, but I think, it is a lot of extra work. And it can get a little complicated. So just keeping it in an unannotated way, depending on how you tag it. Now, again, that's going to be important. Again, this is important for you to think about how you might use it. So your question is good, because how are you going to use this information? If you're just putting it out there for them to read, they're probably not going to do it, right? We know that. So what are you going to do with it? How are you going to get them to engage with that feed that you're publishing in your LMS? So what I've done with it is, I may create a tag so that it corresponds to the topic that we're covering in class. So what I showed you earlier, again, we're going to go through this in more detail, but what I showed you in the Canvas share was it was more in terms of looking at it in subjects. But I may also tag the information coming through in terms of what are we doing today? What's the topic in lecture today? Maybe it's electrochemistry. Maybe it's nuclear chemistry. So I can have them look at those articles, and it's something that we can use to discuss or have them explain. So, depending how you have it tagged and presented, it can give them a deeper dive into the lecture topic. I have a lot of students, Chem 1, how much material do we cover? We do quantum mechanics in what, a week or two? Come on, give me a break. I have a lot of students who can't handle that. They come into me and these are my motivated students, they can't handle doing quantum mechanics in a week. They want to do it in 5 years. So do I, but we got to go through it in a week. So they are really excited to have these deep dives if I've, if I've tagged it in such a way to say that it's quantum mechanics. And some of those motivated students will just go through it and just get all excited about it. It's information that's not given to them in the book, stuff that we don't cover, we don't have time to cover, but they can go through it and read it, come in and talk to me. Those are your more self-motivated students, of course. But, beyond that, the deeper dive, I'll say, into what was going on in class. Okay, don't tell me this. Is maybe it will illustrate one of the topics that you're covering in lecture. So not necessarily a deep dive, not something, more, let's say about, if we're talking about Avogadro's number, for example, maybe it's not talking about, the big ball for Avogadro's number anymore, which, that would be an interesting deep dive. But maybe there's some current applications that are being illustrated at a higher level that makes it more interesting to the student, and you can refer to it, and you can maybe even encourage, I don't know, a discussion. I don't know how much we like discussions, but sometimes they're useful. I don't necessarily like them online, but in class, they can be useful depending on how much time we have. Again, and what does that do? It also increases their literacy, of course, because they're applying what they're learning to those articles that they're reading. And if we're trying to get them to express it. Again, I'm sure you guys, I haven't been teaching that long, and I'm trying to find the best way to get through to kids. So you all might have even better ideas than I do on how to maybe apply this. So I'd love to, at the end, when you see this, maybe you have some good ideas on how you might want to use these feeds to engage your students. One thing that I do though, and this has been this last year during COVID, is because of cheating, right? It's been terrible. I did not do a normal final exam. I had them do a project, and they had to pick something that they were interested in, and they could come to me at any level that they wanted to, and I would help them. I would treat them, create it like a project management kind of situation, and help them a lot to develop their projects in office hours. But they could, some of them have no idea because they're not making this connection. My little headline that I use for teaching is wonder, master, and discover. So I want them to wonder, they're not wondering when they come into class. They just want to get an A, right? They want to get through the class because they need an A to get into med school or whatever. But I want to slow them down and make them think about, is this could this be interesting to them? And so I really work on this part of this wonder about what's going on, using the topics that are generated in this RSS feed. If my students have no idea, to think about a project. And we have come going through the feeds. And this is where maybe the subject area tagging is useful. I live in Florida, in Melbourne, Florida, which is in the Space Coast. So I have a lot of aspiring astronauts and astrophysicists and astrobiologists. They're not making the connections at this point. And I will point them to some of these articles and, for example, the detection of phosphine, right? On one of the moons. What did that mean? How did they detect it? And that is, important for astrobiology. So my astrobiologists, they don't want to do this. Well, now all of a sudden, that was really interesting. I've had articles come up that was and really engaging. I've had my surgeons come through, right? They definitely don't want chemistry. But one of my students recently, she wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. Well, I pointed her to some of the material science stuff that was coming through that was linked to medical. And she got really excited about ceramics and the potential use for joint replacement. It opens their eyes a little bit that, hey, yeah, this is maybe related to something I'm interested to. So that was the basis for the project. I know I'm going on a little bit too much about this, but this is where I have found success. So they would do a project based on, and this was for their final, based on a topic that was either generated from the feed. They would go a deep dive with it. They had to create, they actually had to create a presentation that they recorded, and then we played it for the other students. And that way it was kind of a way to get all the students interested in in chemistry, in context, and what other students found interesting. And they can't cheat, right? There's not any chagging on that. That's been so terrible. Let's see. Donna says about InnoReader and how do we assure that the materials on feed are, 12 to 18-year-olds. Do you have a list of sources? Yeah, I'm going to show you some of the stuff. Yeah, that's kind of up to you a little bit for the pre-screening, but yeah, there's some sources though. I'm going to show you that. Yeah, good question. So yeah, I would love, any conversation on, after you get a better feel for this, maybe there's other ways we can use this and engage and get the students engaged. Because other than, my using it for the project, that was really my focus. I started to think for a while, this is tiresome. Are they really using it? I don't want to waste my time if they're not going to be doing it. And so I actually asked my students over the summer, my 6-week chem class, do they even look at it, before the project, other than after they picked out their project? Oh, and they just screamed and yelled. Yeah, they absolutely loved it. They did not want me to get rid of it. They were finding it really interesting, even just at a cursory read. So I've had really good student feedback. But anyway, I think you can see if you use it properly, it will increase student engagement. I'll just read this quickly. I want to get into our curation. It makes chemistry live, what's going on out there in the real world, outside of the textbook. So it can boost your classroom learning impact. I'm just going to read it, sorry. Improve science literacy. We got to like this one, help students differentiate between pseudoscience and science. I had one student do a whole thing on alkaline water. That was a good one. Provide material for inquiry-based learning. So that's where you might want to take it. There's some interesting stuff that I've seen recently on actually liposomal sequestration of and protein concentrations in cells. It's kind of interesting. So I was creating something on inquiry based learning just based on that topic. So, but that's based on stuff I'm reading and thinking, I might be able to put this together for something. Increases the vocabulary, of course, strengthen metacognitive skills of reflection and analysis, and obviously preventing cheating. Oh, so terrible. And again, I've had really good student feedback. I've had a lot of wows. My favorite one was, I've just had some great experiences with it. One of my favorite ones was we live on the river here out on the East Coast, the Indian River Lagoon and the Banana River. And it's one of the best places in the world for a phosphorescence in the water. And so I had one kid come through, kind of your jock kind of kid who really did not want to be here. And he begrudgingly came into my office hours to talk to me about his project that he didn't want to do and what we had no idea what he wanted to do. And so I just started talking to him. What do you do? You know, what do you like to do? And I like to fish. I like to go fishing. I'm like, well, have you seen the phosphorescence lately? That is so cool. And here's an article about it. He went crazy. He just perked up. And he actually ended up, you know, typically my projects that I want them to do are only going to be, you know, basically explaining, maybe explaining phosphorescence, for example. He actually ended up wanting to do a research project. He got so excited about it. He wanted to go out and determine water conditions. What would maybe, is there, you know, pH or temperature or alkalinity, different solutes, that may lead to an increase in the phosphorescence. So, I mean, he was really excited. So again, I've had really good experience using it to get kids interested. All right, so hopefully that got everybody thinking it may be a useful tool. Kind of see where we're going. All right, let's go back. So I'm going to go to current chemistry currents, back down to here. Okay, so let's get started. This is the workshop part. We're going to go to plan. And so we have basically 3 parts that we're going to try to get done today, where we're going to plan, we're going to set up our inner reader. You're going to explore a little bit. You're going to try to put together some feeds, and then you're going to publish it. And I definitely think we're going to have to, you know, put the level up for you guys to go on your own if you want to. But let's go ahead and start with the planning. This is the most important part. Again, thinking about, you've seen the examples, you know, how do you think you might want to organize your reader? Again, it'll come together. So here's our tasks that we have to accomplish today in order to do our planning. The first thing is to get your inner reader account going. So now this is, I hope this is going to work. I was working with a programmer in Egypt to get it to work here. If you click here, and I'm going to pull up my account, my email. I talked to Inner Reader and asked them if they would give the attendees, you guys, a 6-month free trial, because that would give you the chance to use it for a semester, and see if it works. So they agreed. So but what they did, they gave me individual codes. I think they gave me 100 individual codes, and I couldn't figure out a good way to give it to you guys in the middle of the presentation. So we created this little Google form. So let's go ahead, and everybody can do this. If you click Get Your Inner Reader Pro gift code, it sounds like I'm selling from Inner Reader. I'm not. But this is just a Google form. So this is what we came up with in order for it to generate that code that they gave me for you to use. So, because everybody is, again, it's 100 different codes. So all you have to do is fill out the Google form. This is my form. It has nothing to do with Inner Reader. You're just going, you put your name, I don't care. But the most important thing is the email that you want to receive your code at, because that's going to generate a script through Google Forms to send it to you to that email. I'm just going to tell you guys that I tried this with my EFSC EDU account, and I don't know if the EDU account blocked it. It never came through. Sometimes there's a second or third or fourth level of spam. I think these guys work. I mean, it is the Space Coast here. And, you know, we have Boeing and all the defense contractors. I think these guys have got the EFSC mail protected at, you know, super.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How do I get to this site to do the Google code? You lost me. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you want to do you have this chemistry currents that we put in the link or in the chat? Okay,
Right.
So there's a couple ways to get there. So again, I know it was going to be confusing. Right at the bottom, if you're not following through the presentation, which I don't expect you to, right down here, there's another link to it, InnoReader Pro code. So you can click on that.
Okay, I see it. I see that. Okay, got it.
Okay, good. Someone said it worked. Thank you. Good. Woo, my guy in Egypt did it. So you don't have to use this email to sign up for it. This is just a one-off, get the code and be done with it. I'm going to throw it away when it's done. I'm not giving it to anybody. It was just a way to get you guys the code. So once you get the code, everybody do it. I guess you don't actually have to do it right now, but we're doing this together. Because I think you can get 2 weeks of the free trial anyway. All right, so once you get I give everybody a second to get their code. And then I'm going to go back to where we were. We were in chemistry currents, the homepage plan, get your InnoReader Pro gift code. And then you're going to create your Pro account. So this will just link you out to InnoReader Pro. So I'll give you a little bit of time to set that up. I do want you guys to set that up. Now this is mine already. So InnoReader on your computer works through the through your whatever you use to whatever your Internet Explorer is. It's not an app. It's not app based, in other words. So you can do it through Firefox, Chrome, Safari, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I tend to use Chrome just because for this I think there's less problems. I do have Firefox up right now though. But once you get this set up, there are apps that you use on your iOS or your Android devices. It just is kind of a internet app essentially that interfaces with what you create on the website itself. All right, I'm thinking maybe I should have this look like what you guys are looking at. I don't know. So if you guys are signing up, there's going to be a place where it says have a discount or gift code. That's where you're going to enter your code that was generated and sent to you. And there are 3 versions. The one that we do need in order to do everything that we have to in order to get to generate that final output of our RSS feed, which we need to do the Pro account. Now, if you decide you don't want to be doing this and you don't want to generate these accounts, generate anything for your students, the free account is fine, but you will not be able to generate an RSS feed. So for what we need to do for today's workshop, and the goal of today's workshop is to generate that code. So we do need the Pro account. It's $5.83 a month if you decide to continue after the 6 months is up. But if you don't, you can downgrade to the free account and you can just use it for your own, looking at your own articles of interest to yourself, just not being able to output from it. So hopefully everybody's getting there.
Do they have an educator's discount?
Yeah, no, I didn't ask them. I bet they do. They were pretty, they were really nice and willing to work with us. I did not ask that. I bet they do though.
Is there a way to start over because I went into the free one by mistake? Is there a way to get another code?
It's,
There's one in every crowd.
I did that, Catherine. I did that too. And if you go to like the upgrade page, there's little blue text at the top left that says have a discount or a gift code. I just found that.
Okay. Okay, great.
sorry about that. Yeah, I knew I should have generated a new one.
It's at
for
the
myself.
plans page.
All right. Let's go. I probably should create this up the way you guys are seeing it. All right. Everybody doing okay? You know, I bet they will have a educator discount because they, you know, they were interested when I was talking to them about this, that maybe, you know, it's showcasing it to the students. So it's, you know, kind of generating more clients for them afterwards. All right. So this is the time when you have to think about how you're going to organize everything. I guess right now we're going to just, okay. Not quite
I'm
yet.
sorry, I'm confused. How do I have my code, but I don't know where to go to make my account.
You don't know where, what now?
I was on this page, but I don't know what to do once I get to that page.
So if you're on the same page I'm in, it says have a discount code or gift code. Let me click on it. You can click here and you just enter your code in here.
Hold on. I'm sorry, click where?
There's this blue text that says have a discount or gift
Oh,
code, and
okay.
it should,
And click there. Okay.
I think that's what it sounds like everybody's doing, that it's working through. I have not done it, you guys.
It asked me to put in my email, and then nothing came through my email.
Okay, so you did, so you're one of the people that you didn't get a code, correct?
Yeah.
Can you now if you used your EDU account, I don't know, like I said, EFSC, you know, we've got wannabe high security clearance IT people, I think. I still haven't gotten my code. So I don't know if you did it through your EDU account, that may be being blocked. It may also be in your junk email though. I had it when I sent it to my other, I did try it. We were trying this, the script. I had it, I think it sent to my Gmail account. It was in the junk. So I had to do a search for it. Yeah, spam. Brenda says it was in her spam. Yeah, everybody's saying it's going into spam. I don't know how we can present that, but it's all right. One time only.
Oh.
I still can't get in.
Now, if you're not getting the code you can try a different email. I'll see that there was a failure.
Oh, I got it in my spam. So what is my next step?
So once you have that code, you should be, it gives you the code in your email. You should be able to come to this page on InnoReader, which is linked. Create your InnoReader Pro account. And it should bring you to this page where you can enter in the discount code.
I don't see that box where you can enter in that discount code. I see all the other stuff, but I don't see that box over there.
So you have something that looks like this,
Yeah,
but you don't have a discount code, huh?
correct.
But did you create an account?
I did, I have a code. How do you create an
Well,
account?
why don't you try clicking through again? Because if I'm on my page here from my presentation, it says create your InnoReader Pro account, and you want to click on that. And then it says create your InnoReader Pro account. It should bring you to this page. Oops, did not. And then I'm going to go to plans.
Although, okay, I didn't
Let
get
me
that
put
page.
this-
So what page did you go to?
Let me go ahead. I'll put this in the chat. Try going there.
There, at the top, it says, do you have a promotional discount code? That's what you have to click on to make it work. That page that you were showing, you see the blue at the top? It says upgrade right there. That's what you have to click on so that you put your code in there.
Yeah, but that's not helpful.
You need to click on that light blue section up at the top, right there.
Hi, Dr. Knight. This is Chris Kutros. I'm like to offer if I can go into a breakout room because I've got pretty advanced in the process here. To if anyone needs technical help, and just let them come into the breakout room with me, and I'll lead them through that.
Thanks. That's a great idea.
All right,
wanna
so I'm
keep
going to
moving.
let participants choose room. I'm going to just create one breakout room. You can join the breakout room if you'd like help with getting signed up, and then we can rejoin the main room when that's up.
Right. That sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so we've got our account created, hopefully. And now what we're going to do, I'm going to show what we're going to first do is actually, I'm going to help you subscribe to your first RSS subscription. Now so you'll see the process of doing it. So if we're back to the plan page, if you click on subscribe to RSS feed direct, there's some information to talk about this. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, who asked me the question about the sources. I'm providing some sources, and I will continue to update that as I'm going through my feeds. But basically, this is what we're going to think about. What we're going to think about here is, you know, the purpose of InnoReader is to basically scour the internet and bring in information and articles that you're interested in. And it's very powerful. There's the way the approach that we're looking at right now is going to be a very directed approach. It can also go crazy in a very wide ranging approach, which I'm not going to talk about because, you know, I'm going to try to stay focused on what we need to do to create your feed. You can play around with it later. If you have questions, you know, I'm happy to get with you at another time to help you go through it. But right now, again, we're going to focus on what do we need to do to just get started, maybe to get a feed out. And so we want to limit our sources. And that was one of your guys' question was, you know, we want to make sure we're using appropriate sources for that's going to be generating the sources that are appropriate for the level of our student. So there are just a little bit of a diagram to think about it. These are the feed sources that are coming into InnoReader. And I'm categorizing them as from level 0 to level 3 sources. The one that I think that is going to be most applicable to to this level, high school, college kids, is these level 1 sources. And potentially some level 0 sources too. Now I'll explain what I mean by that. If you click on the sources, I described it there, but these level 0 sources are, you know, 0 is the least sophisticated to 3, which is the most sophisticated. I'm going to tell you, for what we're doing, you're not going to be messing around with level 2 and level 3 sources. They're very directed sources that you have to create, and I'm not going to go through it showing you how to do that today. That's going to be more for your interest, right? These journal table of contents, that's interesting to us, right? We don't have to go Friday to the library. We can just get these delivered to our inner reader and reader. But for our kids, for what we want to generate for the students are probably level 0 sources. And these level 0 are going to be sources that are non-science publishers, but have actually some interesting stuff. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Not a lot of them. You're going to want to vet these sources, right? Number 1, are they appropriate? Number 2, are they providing decent? Number 1, providing decent articles for you to review in the first place. You don't want a bunch of crappy articles being sent to you that you're not going to be sending to your students anyway. It's just a waste of your time. So you want to vet the initial source. Of course, you're going to be vetting the articles that you're sending to your students, but don't waste your time with, publishers that are just publishing nonsense. So level 0 sources are, pretty high level, not too scientific, but some stuff that's interesting. The level 1 sources are where we're going to focus on. You can populate your RSS feed, your incoming RSS feed from a lot of different sources. Again, I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. These editorial aggregators, online publishers, news aggregators, and podcasts. There's some interesting podcasts. So I know that doesn't make sense necessarily right now. If you click on sources, though, this is a database that I'm creating for you all to be able to use. And I'll keep adding to it. But here's my definitions. Oh, they didn't populate my level 0. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I don't know. See, it's not updating quickly. So my level, okay, now what happened to this? Oh no. I don't know what happened to them. The database just disappeared. I'm going to have to go back and fix that, but you don't really need it right now. I'll make sure it's fixed for you. But there was a table, a database with all these sources for you that I'm adding. But so like, I just defined the level 0 sources here, the level 1 sources, level 2 and level 3 sources. And I do not know what happened to the database. So I have to, I just have to go back to the original, my original website and fix it. But that's okay. It'll be there for you. Again, it's stuff that I'm using and that I use for my class, and some of the sources that I find useful. But you don't even need to use it. You might find your own stuff. You'll be amazed what InnoReader comes up with for you. All right, we got to get going. All right. So let's go ahead and generate that first source. Yeah, so in doing this, consider what are the sources that you want to subscribe to for your intended use for your audience. What makes sense for you to go through. I don't know what happened to this. All right, let's go ahead and create our first one. So I'm going to go to InnoReader. I probably should do a empty one, which I can't do. But I'm going to show you on mine, and then we'll go ahead and generate one of the feeds. You'll see on the left side this dashboard. You may or may not have this hamburger. If the hamburger, if you click on it, it'll bring the dashboard up. So if it's not showing, click on the hamburger, it'll show up. Now, the way this, it takes a while to get used to the dashboard and what's going on here. The very beginning, what we need to focus on is this area, which is called subscriptions. That's where we're going to manage our subscriptions. That's where we're going to add our first subscription to an RSS feed, the first one that we're going to do. And it's just going to add, and it will get added just as a subscription item here. What you see here under these carrots are actually, these are folders where you can organize your subscription. So you create your own folders. So I have articles that are general science. I have articles that would be chemistry podcasts. I have chemistry, physics. You can see all my different sources here, or my folders. It just helps it. It's important to keep it organized. I was not organized. I would just start adding things and it got very hard to go through. What's nice about these folders is if you click on the folder, it's going to show all the articles that are being brought in automatically based on the RSS feeds that you subscribe to in that folder. So that's why folders are important to keep organized. I don't want to read my Florida politics with chemistry. I don't want to watch, science and space necessarily with chemistry. If I don't do that, if I don't keep my feeds organized in the folders, I'll be all over the place and my mind will blow up. So what you see here is what we're going to get to. Well, we're not going to do this whole thing, but just an idea for you to think about how to keep it organized. So I clicked on chemistry. These are all the articles that are coming in. You can view it differently. If you see up here, there's this little eyeball. You can do it in card view, which is kind of fun to see. And these are all the articles that were brought up. Now, these are just raw articles that have been brought up. Maybe you're not even interested in them. Just don't read them, then it'll go away. But okay, let's go ahead and create that first feed that you're going to want to look at. And I'm going to tell you that this is one of my favorite general feed sources that I always have all my students go to. And I consider it my level 1 source. And it's really, I'm having you guys set it up because it's going to get you started pretty well in being able to read the articles and applying it to your chemistry students. So it's called phys.org. I love this source. And basically what this is, I consider it an editorial aggregator. It's truly one of my favorite places. Because what it does is you can see it has different disciplines, chemistry, of course, being one. But where are these articles coming from? These are being curated by and brought in and chosen essentially by the editorial staff, who are scientists for the most part. And they're reading, very complicated journals that, if I picked up these journals, I would read it even in chemistry and go, I don't know what this article is. Think about it. Think about journal club when we were in school, right? Journal clubs were hard. It took hours to figure out what one article was saying. Well, these guys are going through the actual academic literature and finding ones that they find to be most impactful or most interesting. Again, it's still, they're choosing it. So it is curated from their point of view. And then they kind of give an overview. So at least we can read their take on that article. So it's a level up from the actual academic article, but it makes it approachable. It makes it approachable for me and certainly for your students. So I just love this site because they find some really good stuff that I find very interesting. And then what they do is they link out to the original academic article, which is then when we all can, really work hard on reading that article. But it's our initial stop for our search. So, okay, I love this site. I think you're going to be able to get a lot out of it. So let's create an RSS feed from it. So how do we do that? Now, there's different ways that InnoReader allows you to do it. There's nanotechnology, physics, all these different areas that they cover. Of course, we're going to want to do chemistry here. But how do we do this? Now, there's a couple ways to do it. The most direct way to do this is to try to find whether or not the publisher has an actual RSS feed that they have displayed to the user. There are hidden RSS feeds, but we're going to try to find the RSS feed that we can see because it gives us, I've just found that it's least mistakes. You get least mistakes if you can find the actual RSS feed. And actually phys.org, if you go to the very bottom of the page, This is the symbol for an RSS feed. So they do generate an RSS feed that we can subscribe to, but we have to be careful because there may be more than one RSS feed, and I don't want to subscribe to, the business RSS feed, right? So, I may click on that and see what they're talking about, but I do see down here something called RSS feeds plural. I'm going to click on that where it says RSS feeds plural. And here's all those topics. RSS news syndication. If I go down here, here's my chemistry. Chemistry is divided up into analytical, biochemistry, material science, others, and polymers. I could click on one of these individually and just get analytical chemistry if I wanted to, or biochemistry, but I don't. I want to have all the chemistry feeds. So I'm going to click, and you can see that these are all hyperlinks. Now this is going to look ugly, but this is why it's important for me to be able to demo this to you. When you click chemistry, let's see what happens. Oh, it's awful. But that's what we want. What we're going to do, and this, I have described this in the website, presentation website I sent you. What you're going to do is we're going to ignore all this, and we're going to cut or copy, whatever, copy the URL. Just copy the entire URL. And you can see it says RSS feed there. So that's a good indication. Just copy it. And then we're going to go back to InnoReader. So to create our first feed, here we go. And this is going to give you a lot of bang to the buck for the buck on just this one. You're going to go to subscriptions. Again, you're subscribing to this feed. This is all the stuff that's dumping in on you. And you're going to click add items. Now, when you do that, there are different choices. In order to create a subscription, you're going to either do it based on adding a feed, which is what we're trying to do right now. I was going to have us add a newsletter, but I will skip because we are out of time. But that is described in the notes, but it's not as common. But this is to create a tag, which is not where I'm going to do it. And this is also add a folder, which we don't have to do it here. But we're going to focus on here. We're going to add a feed. So click on add feed. So again, you were over here at subscriptions, and you're adding a feed. And you get this place where you can paste the feed that you the URL of the feed that you just cut for the chemistry for the phys.org. Search by feed title, RSS link, or topic. There's a lot you can do here. It's pretty amazing. Come back here and play. You'll find so much information, you'll never get it. You'll never walk away from InnoReader. You'll be reading all day. But let's stay focused. I don't stay focused. So I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste that URL here. And it finds, so it looks and it says, hey, I did find a feed that I can subscribe to. One found. One found. This is it here. This is the one that we were just looking at. If it didn't find it, you're going to be able to do some really interesting things about that. Typically, we're not going to need to worry about it. This can do some very powerful, what we call web scraping. This track changes. I'm not going to get into it beyond what we're going to need for our kids. But for you, it can do some really fascinating stuff, kind of dark web kind of stuff, or create an RSS feed. We're not going to worry about that. It found the feed. You put it in here and it says one found. That's the one you want. Chemistry news, biochemistry, polymers, material science. So what you're going to do is if you click on it, well, it's actually now created it. So if we click on it, there's the feed. It just pulled in all the articles that was generated just from that phys.org chemistry. So that's what I was saying, that you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck on this one RSS feed for chemistry. So now again, you may have a different view. If you want to change the view to look like this, you're going to go over here to where this eyeball is. And this is the way you can see it. You can do card view, you can do magazine view. I like card view. If you want to go through quickly, you can do list view. If you're going to go ahead and just quickly tag them. But I like to do magazine view or card view. All right, so there's your view, however you like it. It's all the same stuff. So this is your RSS feed. You brought it in, you have subscribed to this RSS feed. Now you need to, and this is the name of it, Chemistry News, Biochemistry, Polymers, Material Science. So you're going to pull this down. There's a pull down menu. And you're going to be able to work with that feed. So you can see the feed properties. It tells you the address that's used. It'll give you some information about it. You can say remove duplicate articles from this feed if you want to. You can rename it too if you want to rename it. You can start here to create a rule. Let's say you want to already just search it for something that says, who knows, kinetics. It'll search and pull out anything that says kinetics. Filter feed gets rid of stuff. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. But what we want to do with it is we want to put it somewhere. We want to create it in a folder. Now you don't have a folder created. I do already. It's in my chemistry folder already. So I don't know if you can create one. Yeah, you can create a folder. So when you're here, you can go ahead and create a folder and put it in there automatically, I think, which I would recommend doing. Again, so you don't have, DeSantis mixed up with oxygen vacancy mediated catalysis. Keep it organized, believe me. All right, so you create your folder and there you go, boom. You have successfully subscribed to your first RSS feed and you created your first folder, hopefully that you'll see here on the left. If you open it up, you should see your feed here, Chemistry News right there. I have a bunch of other ones which you can add later. But anyway, so you created your first feed. Now you can see there's a lot of articles in here already that are probably interesting. If we go back to the presentation website, we just did this, subscribe to your first feed, the phys.org. So we're good, that was great. But let's see what we're going to do with it. I am not going, this is not linking out. Create newsletter RSS feed. I am not going to do this with you because of time. But really because of time. There are instructions on how to do this, but you most likely will not need to do it. You're going to have a good start with just getting some RSS feeds in here. All right, now that we have that, we have all these articles, we need to organize them into tags in order to push out to our students. Now, this is actually very important, and unfortunately, we are at a very, we're at the end of the presentation, the workshop almost. What we've done is we've created the 4 folders. We just created one folder. What we need to really think about here is creating the tag structure. So as you go through that feed, you're going to want to tag it, the articles, in order to, that's the way that you're taking that feed and saying, how do I want to present that to my students? It is through the tag structure that you create. So I'm going to try to go through this as much as I can because this is important. Very important. This is where you should spend some time thinking about your organization. And you may be tempted to create a ton of tags. And I'm going to tell you that it's not a good idea because you'll get lost. I've created a lot of tags and I got very lost. So what are these tags used for? It's used to create that final published feed. So what you saw at the very beginning, you saw a subject-oriented feed, right? We saw one that was for biological medical. That was a tag I created. We saw a feed that was for atoms. That was a general tag. So those are tags. That's how it's being pushed out based on that tag that you create. So it's how you're going to be organizing all the articles that are coming into you from your different sources. And when you apply that tag as you're reading the article, again, at this point, when you've got the RSS feed coming in, it's seconds. You can scan it and say, oh, that should go, to material science folks, or that should go to equilibrium folks. You can also create tags by rules. I'm not going to go into that. It's a bit more complicated. We don't need to worry about it. If you start using this, you'll figure it out. But we can keep it very simple right now, and it still be very useful. You can also combine tags to create more targeted feeds. So maybe I want to find all my articles that are talking about my section on atoms and related to biomedical and send it to those people. But it's a little bit more complicated. Okay. So again, go back and think about your workflow. What are you going to be doing? Think about that final product that is going to be published. How do you want it to be how do you want it to look? Because that's how your tags are going to determine that. So think about that a little bit. And again, I already said this to you here, but more tags is not necessarily better. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick stop share and go over here to my mind map and show you how I created my tags. So I initially started based on course objectives. I thought, hey, I'm going to download and use all the ACS topic map. I mean, there's like 40. These are your objectives for the course. And I'm going to tag everything based on that. So I have 40 tags that I'm juggling. It was a nightmare. Don't do that. So, you can, though, it depends on your objective. I'm just saying it's simplest, it's not the best way to do it. The way I do it is I tag it based on my course structure and based on my subject area. Therefore, and I usually use at least one tag from course structure and one tag from subject area. You can use multiple tags. So, for example, course structure, what do I mean by that? I got Gen Chem 1 and Gen Chem 2. The way my class is organized, it's atoms first. So I have an atom sections, a molecule sections, reactions and phases. So those are my tags. I used to say Chem 1 and then these guys. Then Chem 2, these are my sections. So I'm going to assign at least one of these tags to my article. It could be more than one. And I'm also going to assign a subject area because I find this useful. So I've categorized it as biological, medical, engineering, material science, physics, computer science. So that's how I've gone about it. Again, that's not necessarily how you're going to do it. You think about your kids and how you want to organize it. And I know we're almost done here. Okay, but you do have the articles to go through. So here's the tag structure again. Class 1, my class is based on class. I'm going to assign one of these, and it's going to also potentially based on the general topic, Chem 1, Chem 2 topics, and then my tracks. Okay, so I'm going to create these tags, and then as I go through and read my articles, I'm going to assign this tag. So where do we do that? So if you go back to your dashboard, you're going to have up here above your subscriptions, you're going to have a caret that opens up for tags. You can right click on it and say add tag. Tag. So you go ahead, create one or two tags, doesn't matter. Once they're created, then you're going to go back to your article feed and you can just start looking at your articles. There is a place where you can get rid of duplicates as well. So that's a possibility here. But let's say I'm going to read this. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Knight. I'm sorry. I don't have that place that says tags. That's my what I'm a little confused about. Like I have all articles, I have channels, I have stars, I have subscriptions. I don't have tags. Is there somewhere else you have to create the tags first before it shows up there?
Let's see what happens. Let's click on an article. So we're going to click on an article. I don't like that article. It's from Nature Chemistry. I like Nature Chemistry, but that's it. So sometimes it'll show you the full article, sometimes it won't. So now it's not showing me the full article. So I got to click on here to read my full article. That's something to think about as well. You know, what your sources are coming from, because if you can't have access without paid access, you know, you probably don't want to have it in there. Obviously some of us do through your college, but anyway. So let's say I read it. All right, this is where you're going to work on it. So try this in your question. Go ahead and say add tag here and
Yes,
type it in.
Under
Maybe
subscriptions, I seem to see that under subscriptions, if you press plus and you look to the side where you were looking for your RSS feed, directly underneath that, there's a tag and you can make your own tags from there.
Yeah. So this way you can create the tags as you're going through, or use the tag. So if I hit add tag, see all my tags will show up, and then I'll just select one of them and then click done. So hopefully maybe see if that did it for you. Did it create a tag for you now?
Yeah, I got it to create a tag. By creating the first tag, all of a sudden tag showed up where it didn't show up.
Okay, there we go.
So
There we
what
go.
I needed to do was I needed to click an article, and then I just needed to like open up the article in a reader and go down below the article and says add tags and just type in a tag.
Perfect.
Like anything. I typed in elements. And
There we go. There we go. Perfect. Now, you guys, we're going to end here because it's the end. But this is actually the essence of your workflow. This is most of what you're going to be doing. I have linked for you guys how to publish this. It's fairly easy. This is the hard stuff. Again, if you're going to use this, I want you to think about your structure and how you're going to, how you want to present this. In here, you're going to see where it says create note. It would be nice if that note was your annotation that would be published to your students. It's not. That is why I said we have to go through that more advanced mode to create annotated. It won't work here. It'll save the note for you, but it won't publish to your students. You can also create feeds of liked if you liked it. And there's a special thing called broadcast, which I won't get into. So you guys can go crazy in organizing. And that's what I'm going to suggest you guys do. Just play around on your own and start looking at feeds and what's going on and what's being pulled in. If you go to subscriptions, you can explore. You don't need me. You can explore. There's so much stuff that's pulled in. That's cool. That's fun. That stuff you might want to read. You can search. It'll pull in more searches for you. You don't need the list that I did provide for you, but it's there. And I'll make sure that whatever is happening with the database, that it gets printed for you or pushed to you. But you can just do it from here. You can create all these feeds right here. And I'm telling you, you need to control yourself, because you can go down a rabbit hole, right? It's too much.
So I just have one question about publication. You're talking about publish your feed to Canvas.
Yes.
Let's say I'm using, I use Schoology. So.
Okay. So you guys, now I wish we had more time, but I did write it out thoroughly for you under publish. So you can go through this and I will help. If you need to email me, I'll be happy either to get on a private Zoom with you or just, email back and forth with you. What you have to do is create those tags that you create is going to create a RSS feed from the tag. So I have to go back one. But that's going to be under here. No, it's not. That's Explorer. But under Publish. So your question though, generate the iframe code from InnoReader. This is what you need. And I did a little video to show you how to do it. Okay, so that will show you how to create that feed from the tag. It will generate, it shows you in the video how to generate the HTML code. It is essentially generic iframe. So if you know how to use HTML iframe, it will generate the iframe, and then you cut and paste that into whatever your output is. So, for me, it's Canvas for you guys in a different LMS, I'm sure they have a place where you can put in an iframe. And for those of you guys who are in Canvas, I actually showed you the code that I use because it is a nightmare. So I have two layouts that I created, one where I publish the RSS feed on the right, and then you can put in all your information in here. So this would be probably something that's more targeted. Here's the code that you can cut and paste and put it into your HTML for Canvas. Now this is for Canvas, you guys. So, or if you like this layout, this is where it's putting the RSS feed in the middle and the code is here. I'm going to end there because we are way over. But if you
thank you so much, Dr. Knight. If anyone would like to just talk about this for a few minutes, because I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it too. I'll stay on this session just for a few more minutes, but we definitely want to respect your time.
Sorry, I went over. It did take longer as usual than I expected, but my